All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Purple Charm Experience. I'm your host, Charmyra E. Fleming. You can call me Mai. And today I have a very special guest with me. I'm so happy because over the last 3 weeks, I've been discussing the My Mindset framework and talking about how I use certain strategies based on the motivate, aspire, inspire concept that I always talk about. And I thought it would be very, very, you know, great to have someone who is actually doing work in this space. She is an author. She's also um, a podcaster, fellow podcaster, and she's a life coach. So I thought it'd be wonderful, at least to tie up everything that I've been discussing and some of the things that I'm doing, just so that I can stay grounded and focused on my goals for the year and have someone that's actually helping clients elevate their lives. So it's with my great pleasure and honor to have someone like this on my podcast. And so everyone, please welcome Miss Astrid Ferguson. Hi, Astrid.
The crowd goes wild.
Exactly. Welcome. How are you?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you for that brief introduction. Yeah, so it's been a whirlwind to say the least, right?
Mhm, mhm.
After this pandemic.
Yes, yes.
Um, and it's good that you're doing this to, inspire others because I think that's what we need right now.
I agree. I agree. I just, I feel like with everything that's been going on, it's hard to stay positive at times because you see so much dissension, so much discourse, so much negativity that was going on prior to today. I honestly felt like a weight was lifted today. Um it was I was thinking about 4 years ago when 45 came into office and it was rainy and cold and everything, and today, as he was leaving, the sun was coming out, the dark clouds was rolling away, and I just feel like it was a weight that was lifted. So with that being said, I want to kick this discussion off with something positive, and we in a new era. We're wearing our pearls, and we, we're phenomenal women. You wearing your phenomenal t-shirt, your phenomenal woman t-shirt, and you know, just tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and about just whatever you want to discuss about what how you stay positive and what you're thinking about as we are going into a new era with the Biden Harris administration and coming into office, and hopefully a turnaround with the pandemic. Just give us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing and how you're staying positive during this time.
Sure. So I am a certified professional coach. So I can be, a life or a career coach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or both to you, depends on what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also an energy leadership index master practitioner, or short for ELIMP. I focus on helping people navigate through unclear transitions by abolishing those internal blocks so they can create like a work life balance that they really desire and get back to having fun,
Mm-hmm.
because I realized through coaching how much time we spend on things that don't bring us joy, that
Right.
we actually, like, we can have a whole plan on how we want to build our career and what house we want and what ring we want and the guy and the girl and all this stuff, but throughout all of that we don't spend just as much effort on what brings us joy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is actually the key to happiness. That is the key to living the life that you really want. Because the reason why you go to that job, the reason why you build that career, the reason why you go on your entrepreneurial journey is so that you create the life that you really want, whether that's flexibility, whether that's you want to travel, whatever that looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now in this pandemic, I think that's what made it difficult because we had to redefine what joy means to us.
Right, 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 right.
Because one of the most essential pieces that we need as human beings is connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when that was taken away, it almost like brought it to our face how much we're really not connected and
Mm-hmm.
how we took that for granted, right? So we had to redefine what joy means to us. And a lot of times that means going all the way back to childhood, right? Like what did you used to do that brought you, you know, enlightenment
Back to the
back?
roots, getting back to
Right.
your roots.
Right. Whether that was reading, whether that was writing, whether that was, I say I got into gardening. I never thought I had the green thumb. Everything died, when I was working on it.
Yeah,
But because of the pandemic, I had so much time. I grew peppers, I grew sage,
really.
I grew basil. I was like, I don't know what came over me, but we are eating organic.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, so are some of the things are you and encouraging some of your clients to do now? Like if you're gardening, what are some of the things other than kind of looking at, okay, this is what I used to do. What are some of the things that they are telling you that they are actually doing through the encouragement that you're giving them during this time?
Well, one of the things is I actually created a course, a virtual
Hmm.
course,
Hmm.
which has everything to deal with that. Like, and it comes with you have to make the choice, right? Because it's very easy to fall in that rabbit hole on focusing on everything you lack, focusing on everything that's not going right,
Right.
instead of focusing on the things that you really want to focus on that brings you joy, right?
Hmm.
So first is defining what your values are,
Right.
right? Define what your values are and how much time are you spending in your life upholding your values. Do that comparison,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And if you're not spending that time, why?
Yeah.
Go on that journey.
Hmm.
Why?
And
You
how long
know?
does that typically take, to go through that process? What is the general, I mean, does it take, weeks or months, days, or how long
No.
should it take them to figure that out?
Well, I actually have well in the course, if you take the course, I actually have a sheet that you're going to go through.
Oh, okay. So they have a
And
framework.
yeah, they have a framework. I have you, rate different values
Hmm.
based on how you rate them. Then I have you rate them on how much you put them into action
Okay.
and doing that comparison. And then I have you pick what are your top 5 values, right? Because that's easy to uphold. 5 is an easy number to uphold.
Hmm.
Now, if you tell me you pick top 5 values and they're like integrity and loyalty and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how much of these values align with what really brings you joy?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Because sometimes interrogating people that way, you realize how a lot of your values you develop based on a place of fear
Mm.
instead of a place of joy. So first you have to define it and then I have you compare it.
Got you.
That's where the real work begins,
Got you.
right? So in coaching, typically what works best for customers is like 10 sessions,
Hmm.
right? I have that like as a package.
Hmm.
And that is the only package
Hmm.
because I tried before of just doing 4 little, and then it's like, "Well, wait, I had something else come up," you know?
Well, because then after the fourth week, you start to really deep dive into what's
Yeah,
really going on with you. That makes sense. That makes sense because you
yeah.
can't. Because by the time you get to the fourth week, you probably just skimming the surface, and now you really get ready to get into the nitty gritty of what's happening with them. Okay.
Right. Right.
Okay.
It's just like when you take an antibiotic, right? As soon as
Mhm.
the first few
Mhm.
days, you be like, I'm fine. I don't need no more.
You start too soon and then it comes back.
Right. Exactly. So it's the same process. But in the course, I have you actually, I mean, I have it drip so it could take you 4 weeks,
Mhm.
or you could do it at your own pace. But
Okay.
I have it that you have lifetime access so that
Mhm.
you can go back at different periods of your life and be like, you know what? I think I need to reassess a few
Right.
things.
Because we do change. We evolve as
Mhm.
people, and so I think it's important to have something like that because it allows you to be able to go back and like you said, reassess where you are. 5 years
Right.
ago, I'm thinking completely different the way I was thinking now than what I was thinking 5 years ago. So it makes sense to make that. It's kind of like a checkup or check in with yourself. So that's awesome. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, right now, I think one of the biggest things, at least that I had to do when all else fails, is just practice being present,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
past already happened. The future right now is very shaky,
Mhm.
uncertain. If you focus on that, you're just going to flare up your anxiety.
That's true.
And, so just practice being present because that's the only real moment that we have right now.
That's true. So let me ask you, what made you want to go into this field of life coaching? I know that some people generally just have, the desire to really help people, and I'm sure that that's one of the reasons why. But was it something in your life that triggered you that made you say, you know what? I have something much deeper to offer people, and this is why I want to step up and do this. Because it takes a really special person to be able to guide someone else through difficult times to navigate life issues. You have to be grounded within yourself to be able to do that. So I'm wondering what it is about life coaching that drew you into it that makes you go out and give your best to someone else.
I always like that question because I want to say life coaching found me.
Mhm.
Because before I became a life coach, I worked in pharma for 14 plus years.
Mhm.
I mean, I still kind of do. I was laid off at the beginning of the pandemic, but that's a whole nother story. So I worked in pharma for 14 plus years.
Mhm.
And I had my second son, and I had a very tough delivery.
Mhm.
Um, and when I say tough, I mean I am lucky to be here today.
Oh my gosh.
So after that delivery, it left me in shambles, right? I had to literally crawl myself out of, I want to say I had a combination of postpartum depression and PTSD, right?
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't fit the description of postpartum. So
Mhm.
I couldn't get any kind of help.
Mhm.
And then I was like I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't like open up my curtains. I wouldn't, because I was so frail that I felt that if I left my house, something else was going to happen. I was in and out of the hospital for 2 weeks when I had my son,
Oh my goodness.
from issue after issue after issue. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that was like very difficult for me. And that's how I started writing. And that's what motivated me to self publish. So, my very first book, Malt, that I published, it was me going through therapy sessions with myself.
Mhm.
And malt, the whole meaning of malt is like how animals shed skin to allow room for new growth.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is literally how I wrote it, right? So
Wow.
just the different phases of womanhood going into
Metamorphosis kind of thing.
right. And that's how I wrote it. And then when I wrote it, people were really asking me about the first chapter, which had to deal with my childhood trauma.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I was like, okay. So I guess I'm gonna have to do a deep dive. And that's how I wrote The Serpent's Rattle.
That book right there. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've you know this. I've quoted you on my
Mhm,
page. Like, this book is really, really deep. Like,
mhm,
the first couple pages, I was filled with emotion. Like, I have to, I literally have to take moments to read pieces from that book because it's so heavy. And I
mhm,
can feel the emotion. I can feel that you were going through a
mhm,
lot. And it's it's beautifully written, and I there's so many pieces in it that I love. But I
mhm,
just know, like, for me, I connected with it
mhm,
immediately. And that's something that I enjoy as a writer, is that I can feel the emotion that the author is going through. Like, I like my senses stimulated, and not just because, you're right. This isn't fiction. I mean, this is nonfiction. So this is someone's actual life
right.
happening. And so I'm connecting with that. And I think it's beautiful. And I just thank you for being so vulnerable to share your story with people, because, you know, it takes a lot to be that open about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And it took a lot of work to like get like I it took I want to say like I wrote it in a good 6 to 8 month period,
Hmm.
but I had to really coach myself through it because it was like reliving the past that I really didn't want to revisit.
Hmm.
But I was like, if I'm going to do this book justice, I have to speak about those things.
Right.
And it's not just my story, it's the stories of the people in my family, at least the
Yeah.
women in my family. But I took it on as me because I was always the witness. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I was the witness to the emotion, to the crucifying, to the sacrifice, to everything. So I was like, I need to do it justice, and I need people to understand that duality lives in all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And choices are not always black and white. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So because I wrote that book, people, I want to say it was like, right, people kept coming to me and saying, why aren't you a life coach? You should be a life coach.
Yeah.
You did it. And I didn't know what a life coach was. I was like, that's an actual job. Like
Mhm.
and I like pushed it and kind of suppressed it for a
Mhm.
while because I was like, I don't have my own life together.
Yeah.
How am I going to coach someone else to go through their life?
Right.
And lo and behold, I was like, you know what? It's like my intuition kept saying, this is what you were built to do. Like you have been witness to these things and you have literally recorded how you change, how you can, like, I'm a walking contradiction. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm not supposed to be where I'm at, Charmyra. Like,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be some statistic. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And that's when it hit me that I was like, you know what? People need to understand that they have options.
Mhm.
If I can do it and I can make it, they can too.
Yeah.
And going through coaching was actually life-saving for me because
Mhm.
when I went through my certification, I actually had to be coached. So I had
Really?
yes, that's part of the certification. You can like the way that it goes is you cannot coach if you don't allow yourself to be coached.
Wow.
You have to do away with all your stuff
Mhm.
so that you can provide space for someone else. And I want to say that was like the biggest growing I ever did because
Mhm.
I had to come to terms with a lot of things. I had to come to terms with grief. I had to come to terms with,
Anger, probably.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I believe when we met, and guys, we met at the Baltimore Book Festival. We were We were booth mates.
Right.
And I believe, weren't you were just about to finish up at that time, weren't you?
Hmm.
Wow. And it's just amazing that I always talk about, when you find your purpose in life, it's almost as if you are truly starting to align with, you know, what God has intended for you to do in life.
Hmm.
And when you do, it allows for you to all these things that you've been pushing out of your mind. Oh, like I don't. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. When
Hmm.
you really open yourself up to it, it's like you really start to align and everything starts to fall into place. Do you feel like that's happening now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also that you have to give yourself the opportunity to
Hmm.
experiment,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I can't say that everything is falling into place. There are pieces that are difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I truly enjoy, and because of all the things that I went through as a kid, what I'm good at is listening.
Mm.
And I didn't know that that was the skill that I was developing. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But that is what I'm great at,
Mhm.
and that is what makes a coach so valuable, because
Yeah.
how many of us can say we have people in our lives that
Would
can
just
listen
listen.
to it? Yeah.
Mhm. And
And
that, a lot of times that's what people just need is someone that will listen. You-
right.
um, I actually was talking to someone about a week ago, and she was telling me that she felt like she didn't have anyone, any friends or anyone that she can turn to. And I talked to this woman for nearly 2 hours, and she's not a close friend, but she's someone that has, uh, developed a connection to me just because I will listen. So it makes sense. A lot of times people just want to be heard, and they don't have anyone around them that will just hear them, and listen to them, and not necessarily give feedback all the time, but just allow them to just sound off, because
Right.
it's hard, to have feelings and feel bottled up, and there's no one you can turn to. So I think that's awesome. That's one of your skill sets that is a strong skill set for you, because not everybody has the ability to actively listen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you have to develop that skill when you're a
Hmm.
coach. So it's like, it's called intuitive listening.
Hmm.
Intuitive listening is where I'm not just listening to your story. I'm listening to everything you're not saying. Your body language, your change in tone.
Hmm.
If you're lying to yourself, if you're lying to me about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So you're listening with a third ear.
yes. And I'm having you do the work.
Yeah.
You have to dig in.
Hmm.
But I'm not telling you what to do. You
Right.
are creating everything of where you want this relationship to go. That's why it's called a partnership, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the difference between like a coach and like a therapist, right?
Hmm.
A therapist is going to focus with you on like things from the past, things you can't seem to overcome. He or she is going to give you like some tools, some strategies. A coach is not. A coach is going to work on what's going on in the present and let's work towards the future.
Right.
Develop this plan. Okay, so this is the plan that we're going to focus on. If you can't stick to this plan, because that's the other part of the coach is holding you accountable to the plan that
Mhm.
create. If you're not being accountable, you're not doing what you said you wanted to do. Why is that?
Right.
Do
Right.
you need to change the plan, or you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Or is this another problem that you may have,
Hmm.
that you struggle with inconsistencies, and you struggle with accountability, and maybe that's why you're not joyous, and maybe that's why you're not fulfilling your dreams, because you're not doing what you said you want to do.
Right.
Mhm.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you. So, when potential clients come to you for coaching, what do you feel like, besides your listening skills, what do you feel like sets you apart from other coaches? What makes you unique?
I want to say what sets me apart from other coaches is that I'm pretty flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna come in here and say we're gonna do slam bam. I'm gonna get a feel for how you are,
Mm-hmm.
and if it aligns with how I am, then we're gonna make it, a good
Work.
partnership,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna have like a full agenda. Now, I can give you the drill sergeant if I feel like you're not doing what you need.
Right.
I have a client who'll be like, "You just turned a whole 365 on me," like, because sometimes people need that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But ultimately, you set the plan. So the way that I do my coaching is that I marry both my certified professional coaching stuff and my energy leadership. So I focus mostly on your core energy. So I have you
Mm-hmm.
do an assessment, which is what the ELI allows me to do. I can read through the assessment, and the assessment is going to tell me where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll say things like, are you having struggle connecting spiritually?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having issues at home? Are you having trouble having real connections? Are you dissatisfied with your work or your
Mm-hmm.
life? Or it's going to tell
Yeah.
me all. So I don't really rely on what you say. I
Yeah.
rely on this
But
assessment.
the way you answer those questions, because
Right.
it gives you the roadmap as to how you need to
How I need to
interact with
coach.
that person. Yeah.
Right. And then
Got
we have a whole debrief,
it. Mm-hmm.
and I make sure, like, so this is what you really wanted to put here, right? This is not like you thought was a good answer. It was
Mm-hmm.
what you really wanted, right? And then they'd be like, how you know so much? It's in your assessment.
You know me backwards. That's us. It's so funny
Right.
because I was with the my mindset framework. One of the things that I was telling people that I like to do, I like to start. I kind of based it off of not only the my concept with the motivate, aspire, and inspire, but I kind of broke each one of those down into two things that I like to focus on throughout the year. And I went back to basically my professional life, my career, my corporate life, day life, where we always have to have performance goals and career development goals throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
always start my year off with my SMART goals.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started Creative Cabaret, that's where I started. And so, that's part of my motivate piece, start with SMART goals. And then,
Mm-hmm.
when you, once you have those goals, now you know what you need to aspire to. These are what the things that you're going to aspire to throughout the year. And then
Mm-hmm.
you stay inspired by, meditation, um, um, remembering that people around you are watching you and looking up to you. So you holding yourself accountable to the work that you're doing and making sure that you meet those goals throughout the year. That's going to ultimately reinforce you being motivated to keep going. And then, not only are you going to inspire one person, you're going to inspire many along the way. So it's awesome that when you talk about the stuff that you're doing with life coaching, that even if they don't have a coach, if you need one, please call Astrid, please. But if
Yeah.
you don't, yeah, but if you don't have one, just doing simple things like that to stay motivated and to set, some sort of strategy for your life for each year, and then knowing when to pivot when things are not going exactly the way you had initially planned. You can always, make a change and do something different to stay on track. And I just love the fact that you are working with people, you're assessing them based on where they are and giving them the appropriate guidance that they need so that they can come out on the other side, better for it. Now, let me ask you, go through it. And you said that they have the lifetime option, the option to come back and, reassess. Can they always get back in touch with you, like when they come back and reassess, to connect again with you to further their coaching?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I mean, you can always renew.
Like,
You know,
don't hold that back.
nobody's gonna turn away a client, like,
Exactly.
unless like you're full and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was the reason why I also created the course,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that everyone can't afford life coaching,
Right.
right?
Right.
And another thing that you learn through life coaching is also understanding that your time is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I would love to help everyone, is like, I mean, I got a family too,
Right. Right.
like,
Right. Right.
so I decided to create the course where I'm basically using the same techniques,
Mm-hmm.
except for the assessment. I do give you the option at the end if you want to take, an assessment on your own. But the course is for you to get a feel for how it would be with coaching for
Mm-hmm.
way cheaper. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
That you can afford it.
Right.
And you can, you have the option of having a free one-on-one with me, like a session.
Mm-hmm.
If you get stuck or you see that it brings up stuff for you and you want to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
that's also in there. And then you can become part of a group too, which is, I have it outside of social media. I have you go into Slack, because
Oh, that's
social media,
cool.
you get distracted. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can talk about it with other people who might be going through the same things that you're going through,
Right.
you know? And then the next thing that I want to implement, which I will be introducing this year once I
Mm-hmm.
get myself together, I'm going to have at least one or two slots for pro bono. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Where you can submit, because that's my way of giving back, because like I'm Latinx, you know what I'm saying? I'm Black and Latina. So it's like, I know we ain't got it like that all the
Right.
time.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need that help. You know what I'm saying? So
True.
that's my way of giving back to our community, you
That's
know?
wonderful. That's wonderful. Before we switch gears, I just wanted to ask you, is there any, simple strategies that you would like to share that people can do on their own, or any other information that you want to share about life coaching and coaching with you, that before we switch gears, that you would like to share with folks?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I always tell people is to practice having grace.
Mm-hmm.
Practice having grace with yourself. You're not always going to be positive. You're not always going to be upbeat, and that is okay. And one of the biggest myths that we see going around is, oh, you want to vibrate higher all the time. That's BS.
Yeah.
All energy levels are needed.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what you're going through that day. Now, you don't want to get stuck in any energy level. But if you're a person who is dealing with grief, you might be low for a while. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And that's okay. Like, give yourself permission to not be okay. So that's the first thing. And then after you're okay, you've acknowledged yourself, then we can work on mind shifting,
Mm-hmm.
on how do you switch these thoughts? How
Mm-hmm.
do you, because from your thoughts, it channels your emotions. You
That's
know what
true.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. So then you go from first step to second step, and then you figure out what your actions are going to be, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to stick to these actions. If you can't stick to them, don't keep pressing yourself. It
Right.
may just not be the right action for you, and that's okay. Allow yourself to go on that journey. I actually share a lot of stuff through my blogs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you follow like my blogs and stuff, I always send out, like, every Thursday. I share what's on there. I share some tips. I share some about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even on our podcast of Call Your Sister with my sister, we have different discussions, and it's all about sisterhood? How do we uplift each other? Because we go through a lot, Charmyra.
Yes,
Like,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we need
too much.
somebody to talk to. Like, what is going on? Sis. So, but yeah, thank you for those tips. I mean, just that information alone is enough to get, someone started. If they, they just need a change and they feel like what they're doing isn't working and they need some sort of concrete, okay, this is what you need to do to get started. So I'm glad you shared that. That's just, wonderful information. I kind of wanted to switch it up, switch gears for a minute and talk about our books and things like that and writing process because, we're both authors and, I just enjoy the fact that I have another author to connect with, and so this is awesome to me. And we really connected the day, the book festival day. So this is amazing. And I remember when you had me on your podcast. I mean, can we discuss? That's the name of it. And last year, and I just briefly mentioned, I was like, if I ever start a podcast, would you come on? You was like, absolutely. So I thank you so much for doing this. So one of the things that I love about the fact that with the Serpent's Rattle, because I don't have malt, but I'm gonna have to get that one. Serpent's Rattle is, some of the pieces in there about the man. There's a couple where you talk about a male with, I think, your mom or the boyfriend or husband or something, and it was just, and the only reason why I think about the one where she's, let's see what it was called. I think where Hated. I don't know if that was the name of it, but it has like, I hated the way you follow him around like a mouse without a colony. That one, oh my God, this one tore me up.
That was my hardest poem because that was me being completely open about how I felt about my mother.
Mm,
Because I can say that growing up, I felt like she always put my stepfather before me. And I mean, now that I'm an adult, I understand, and it's because I guess I'll explain the book because it makes it easier.
Okay.
So the serpent's rattle is really about all the serpents that you come across in your life.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest serpents in that book is my stepfather. And the crazy part is that my stepfather in that book is also my sister's father. And even though we have that closeness, there's a distance because
of that
because of that, and because it's difficult to have that conversation when it's her father. I don't feel the same because that's not my dad. I could care less, but I have to take her feelings into consideration.
Right.
Like, I went through what I went through, but for her, it was also a different experience because both parents are her parents. But me in particular, I hated my mother because I felt like she put me in this situation. I was placed in this situation where I had to be the adult before I even knew how to be a child.
Wow.
And I had to constantly choose between responsibility and just being me.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was when I was a kid. I didn't get to do creative things. Like, I probably could have been a New York Times bestseller by now if I knew that writing was, my thing.
Your gift.
But for my mom, it was like, You know you have to take care of the kids. You know you have to pick them up. You know you have to translate. You know you have to, and you need to work. You're not going to focus on anything that's not going to bring you money. And so it
Yeah.
was
You had a
pressure,
lot of pressure on you.
right? Constant pressure. And then you go home to the domestic violence, the abuse, and all the stuff that's going on, and you can't talk about it.
Right.
You have to internalize it.
Mhm.
And she always forgave him. No
Mhm.
matter how bad the situation was, she always forgave him. So that is the side of a little girl.
Mhm.
So I wrote that as little young Astrid of what she didn't get to say. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's why I wrote that book that way, where I was like, I hated how you follow him like a mouse without a colony,
Yeah.
because it's like she lost her identity. She completely lost herself.
Yeah.
And that's why the book is written that way, because that's what serpents do. They
Mhm.
make you forget who you are.
Mhm. You know, I think one of the reasons why I connected with that, one of the characters in my book, his name is Donovan. And
Hmm.
although I don't get, very deep into uh, him being, physically abusive, I
Hmm.
touch on or allude to the fact that he's been abusive in the past to Violet, and that he's abusive to her best friend Robin, which you find out that they had a kind of a love affair that was going on behind Violet's back. And I connected with that particular poem because it made me think about him, because he was so broken, and I wrote him as a broken individual that was affected because of his relationship with his mother, and how she had terrible relationship after terrible relationship with men, and that affected his relationship with every other woman after her, after his mother, because they had such a terrible relationship. And
Hmm.
so he didn't know, even though he loved Violet, he didn't know how to love her in a way to support her passion, which was dance. And
Hmm.
then he lost her ultimately because he was such a jerk towards her. He made her feel as if her passion wasn't valid, and
Hmm.
that she had, it was, you know, idiotic for her to believe that she could be a dancer at age 30 years old and
Hmm.
be good at it. But this is something she's been doing for years, since she was a kid. And this is what she know and love. And so she had this dream within her to continue this path. And finally she, had the realization to walk away from the relationship with him. But I really wanted to get into, I tried when I write, even though I've not personally dealt with any of those things. I've had, family members who have been in bad relationships where they were abused or verbally abused and physically abused. And, um, as a kid, just seeing the remnants of that and family members having to deal with that, allowed me to be able to write in a way that could connect with how this person was, and connect these two people in a way that I felt was authentic. And I try to do that with my characters. So, you know, I know that you said it took you some, 8 months, 6 to 8 months to write this. When you write, you know, where do you go to really get to a place that's authentic to allow that stuff to come up and just, pour your heart out for everyone to see, because this is a lot for you to go there.
Yeah, well, the first thing I need is silence.
Mhm.
I have two kids, so that's difficult to come by.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know if I have a condition, I guess is called, because I need a metaphor
Yeah.
first, you know? So I go searching for metaphoric language
Mhm.
in different places. So I'm very much into neuroscience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Neuroscience, I read a lot about, you know, self-improvement,
Mm-hmm.
but every now and then I'll go to a different kind of book or I'll switch to jazz.
Oh, I love jazz.
Jazz.
Jazz does it for me.
Jazz, if I hear a tune, because that's why I connect to your character, Violet.
Mm-hmm.
When I was little, I can remember I didn't talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was very quiet. I actually would get in trouble a lot because they would say she don't really participate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which should have been sign number one,
Right.
right? For
Right.
people. There were
Red
things,
flag.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the silence, I would create scenes in my head
Mm-hmm.
and I would literally dance them out, right? I remember that. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a ballerina at one point, but my dad
Really?
was like, they don't make money. So I fell in love with music
Mm-hmm.
and expression through the body.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm dancing and I notice a palpitation, as they say, in
Mm-hmm.
my veins or something like that. And
Beat.
I'll go and explore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do veins move blood through the body? And all of a sudden I find myself writing of the
Get the rhythm.
metaphoric
You get
language,
into a flow. Yeah.
right, of something like that. So I just need to pick something that kind of inspires me. So sometimes it's from music, sometimes it's from watching a show, sometimes it's from reading,
Mm-hmm.
um, or sometimes it's just I'm just like, okay, let's get into why craftsmanship is very detailed,
Right.
right? So sometimes I'll write about something like that, or my son is very much into chess. So
Mm-hmm.
I find myself sometimes I create poems like chess, like I'm creating chess pieces. Okay, this is the pawn, this is the queen.
That's
How are we
me.
going to get a checkmate? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll write that way. Cuz there's a poem in the Serpent's Rattle that has to deal with the medallion of the two snakes, of the
Mm-hmm.
feminine and the
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I wrote it like that. Ding, time is up. It's a
Wow.
metaphor for like checkmate, like time is up. So
Oh,
I will
when they hit the button, when they hit the oh,
yeah. So
okay.
that is how I write. I create scenes in my head and I describe the scenes using things that'll really drill into the emotion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Like it's so cool to hear another writer, you know, express how they get into flow
Hmm.
because I feel like unless you do it, it's kind of hard to understand it. And I'm the same way. Like I love listening to jazz. Like if I'm writing my blog, and some points in the depending on the mood of the point of the story, I'll
Hmm.
turn on my jazz playlist, and I have like stuff from like the Mo Better Blues album on there, and it just allows me to just get into that just get into that vibe, and I can just zone out on it. And it's just really cool to be able to listen to another writer talk about this this art form
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
creating, because we paint pictures, with words, and
Hmm.
we see them in our minds, and then it's up to us and how we just express these words to create the visual that people see in their minds when they read it. And I think it's just amazing, like to hear somebody else here, talk.
Yeah. Because people will think that something's wrong with us. And it's
Yeah,
like, I know it's weird, but I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's you live in your head. You know
Dude,
what I'm saying? I think I probably write, I don't know how many stories a day in
yeah.
my,
Do
you
you
know,
do you do you oh do you keep pieces of paper nearby so you can jot things down? Like,
I try to. I was pissed off because I I actually had so many things written down in like my notes
mm-hmm,
in my phone,
mm-hmm.
and somehow my notes got wiped clean and I lost
What?
all that stuff. Yeah. I probably could put
Oh,
out a new poetry book right now. And I
you
don't know what
serious? It's
happened.
not backed up at all?
No, I have to try my other computer and see if it's there, but I was like, what the hell
What?
happened?
Did you cry? Because I'm about to cry for
Yes.
you. I
Yes.
I lost one. Oh my god! I lost the first couple chapters on one of my second book on messing around with Scrivener, and I literally cried. Oh my god! Please, I
Yeah, it
hope.
was
I
like
pray. I'm gonna be praying that you find that because
it's like 300 and something like pages of poetry and quotes and all kinds. Yes. Cause that's all I have when I'm out. I'm like, oh wait, I saw somebody in the park. This is a good one, you know.
oh
And
my
I'll sit there and
god!
observe someone, and the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, this is some deep stuff, you know.
Oh my god! You better find that. Oh, oh my goodness.
I probably
Um,
could have put out a whole new poetry book by
it
now.
sounds like it.
Hmm.
What? I'm my mind's just I'm over the place. I'm like, man, that made that's your
It
life.
hurt.
It's like it's that's your life gone.
It hurts. Yeah.
Oh my god. So I'm just gonna ask a few more questions and then we can wrap up. But I wanted to ask you, you said you connected with Violet. What is it about her that, you felt connected to?
There is a part in the book where you say that she literally disappears and becomes someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, that's young Astrid. That's me. I always loved dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you I wanted to become a ballerina,
You
but
still
it never
dance?
took fruition. Yeah, well, I teach Zumba. That's as close as I get.
Wait, I need to take your class. I I wrote that because
Hmm.
I belly dance, and belly dancing was I started belly dancing about 12 years ago,
Hmm.
and I've been doing it off and on. And I remember one of the first times I danced on stage, and I think it's in the first couple chapters when I talk about her being on stage and like completely becoming one with the music and one with dance itself. That was kind of what I felt when I danced for the first time, and so that's amazing that you felt that way.
Yeah,
You connected with it that too.
yeah, that's why I connected with her. I was like, yes, that is me because I mean, I definitely love music. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I played the clarinet when I was younger and I was supposed to be in the band. And I
What?
was going to continue that. Like, I was in a band and then I was going to continue that through high school.
Mm-hmm.
But again, because of everything, I couldn't continue it because responsibility,
Yeah.
For me to be in the band, I had to go to school earlier than everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and no one was around to drive me. So I had to give up playing, music. Um, so then, I always love rhythms and all different kinds of music, African beats, Indian music, all of it.
Yeah.
So then when I got introduced to Zumba, I was like, oh, well, this is how I'm gonna keep it alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's fun. I get some money, I work out, I get out of the house. It's a perfect win,
Yeah.
right? So
That.
that's what I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't like really like broadcast it, but yeah, so I'm off and on it. Like right now, the session that I was teaching, it ends. So I think they do them for like 10
Mm-hmm.
weeks long. But I do it through my son's like
That's pretty
district.
cool. No,
Yeah, they
that's
have
pretty
a thing.
cool.
And yeah, and then that's what I teach. And I'll mix in all different kinds of things and different dances, and people love it and they work out and that's my
We
way
found
of
out I got another class I need to join up to. Y'all hear that?
yeah, too much fun if
It
you
is
get the
fun. I
right.
have the tape over there. I do my little Zumba tape over there, 20-minute workout. What? Let me find out. Information down. I'm gonna be signing up for this. I was just gonna ask you, did you find that there were any emotions that reading about Violet or any of the other characters kind of drew up for you?
Um, it's really just how she's trying to figure out who she is,
Yeah.
just going on that journey.
Hmm.
And I think that's a lot of us. I mean, that's I'm going to say that's all of us
Hmm.
because we go through different changes in our lives, right? I call it shuffling cards.
Yep.
You be like, okay, I got a good deal, you throw
Uh-huh.
a thing, oh, this is good. I'm winning.
Yep.
And then something changes and you fold. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And you're ready to go back to shuffling and figuring out, what deal you want to go to. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's what life is all about. We're constantly outgrowing and growing, outgrowing and growing.
Yeah.
So that's what I connected to the most with her. And then she's trying to figure out if dance is her home place. And then at the same time, you bring in love,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I admire that about you because I don't really focus too much on romance.
Hmm. Hmm.
But now that I've been working on a novel for a long time, I'm like, that's good.
Oh, new news.
Right, right. But we'll see. I don't know when that's gonna come out because I've been like I want to say it's gonna be 2 years now where I'm like, I'm in it, I'm invested,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm like, oh no. You know how we are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
struggle with it, and then
Uh-huh.
you're like, it sounds
Yeah.
great, it sounds great, and
Yeah.
then you're like, this is trash. Like what did I
Right. Right. That's kind of how I just finished the third one, and I'm like super excited about it, but I'm scared to send it to my editor because I feel like because it took me 2 years to write it, and I had planned on finishing like last year, but the pandemic just threw me all off, and now I need to go back through it and just make sure that it's a really good story for people to read. I want to make sure that it doesn't trail off for folks. Like I want to keep people engaged and feel connected to it. So yeah, I completely agree because you feel you spend that time and you're like, I can't put out crap work. You become a perfectionist for your art, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um
It's hard. It's hard. And I'm really putting in like I'm giving it pieces of me,
mhm,
but I'm also trying to allow my characters to
to live,
develop,
to live.
like where we separate cuz you always give
Yeah,
pieces of yourself to your characters.
yeah. You
So
want to live.
right. So it's flushing out your characters and I'm just like, all right, I want to really do this justice because I'm talking about very sensitive issues as well. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And I want to pitch it. Like I want it to be traditionally
Officially
published.
published, right?
If I'm doing all this work, like you know,
Yeah, yep, yeah.
that's what I'm trying to I don't mind self-publishing like my poetry and stuff.
Hmm.
But this novel, I see it being like really published. So I'm trying to put my best foot forward. And at the same time, I'm like, I'm going to let it come to me. I'm going to
Yeah,
let it,
give it time, give it space to breathe.
yeah.
Yeah. Any advice you can give to other poets, other authors that's getting started, or they need some advice to keep going?
what I would always say is to always challenge yourself.
Mhm.
Too many people get comfortable writing in just one style
Mhm.
and not challenge themselves. So I think the best way for you to challenge yourself is to not read what you write.
Right.
So if you're a poetry person, don't read poetry.
Mhm.
Go read novels, go read other things, and take those things and challenge yourself to write about them.
Mm.
Challenge yourself in formatting, challenge yourself because that's how you're going to grow as an author, you know? Your next book should always be a step up from your previous book.
I agree. I agree.
So, like if you read Molt and you read The Serpent's Rattle, you're
You
going to
see
see a
the
huge,
growth.
yeah.
Mhm.
So always, always do that. And it's okay if you realize that you only like to speak about a particular topic, like you're a romance person.
Mhm.
You can write about romance. Maybe it's contemporary literature, maybe it's, whatever it is that you really enjoy writing about, write about that, but challenge yourself in the story. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
All the time. That's what I would advise every author, and tell your story. Everyone has a story to tell.
Mhm.
There's room for all of us out here.
I agree. I agree. Well, I feel so fulfilled by our discussion tonight. And I just completely, appreciate you for taking this opportunity to share your life story with us, to share your life's work with us, and to um, be so open and honest with my listeners about where they can go with their lives, and the opportunities that they can have if they seek joy, if they focus on the things that brings them joy, and to be true and authentic to themselves. And I think you're a living testament to you know God's purpose, and what He can do when you live, in pursuit of what it is that you were put on this earth to do. And when you follow it, how many people you can impact. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe in the work that you're doing. I just want to ask you, my final question is, I always talk about the motivate, aspire, inspire. You know, what would you say to someone to motivate them to aspire to their greatness and inspire many along the way? What is that thing within you that you would give to them, to, or ask them, or tell them to do, to bring that out and bring that forth into the world?
I would have to say that focusing on the things that were done to you, the things that you wish would have been different, is you siding with pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an easy decision to make. The harder decision is choosing that despite everything that's going on in your life, you are not going to allow it to take anything more from you.
Right.
That is a difficult decision to make, but you owe it to yourself because everyone listening, anyone in this world, we are really worth way more than we think.
Thank you, Astrid. I I I I appreciate that, and thank you so much for joining us today. This has been enlightening, and a very enlightening discussion, and very powerful. Um, you are doing phenomenal work, and I am delighted to be in your company and your presence. And I am so glad that God allowed our paths to cross when it did, and that we've remained in touch over the last, what, 2 years now.
I know, right? It has. Oh,
Whoa! I'm just I'm
yeah.
very, yeah. It's into the second year.
Yeah.
14 months. Yeah. 14 months. Wow. So I say all that to say, you never know who comes into your life that can impact you and make it better. And I've been made so much better having, known you. I follow you on social media. The things you post, you know, bring me joy. I love seeing your post every day, and I enjoy communicating with you and seeing your face. And I just thank you for giving me a chance to come and talk to you on your podcast, and for you coming and talk to me on mine. And guys, I want to tell you, please go out and get this book. I mean, seriously, it's a great book, and everything else that she has, and support Astrid. Astrid, please share with the listeners how they can get in touch with you, and everywhere they can find you.
Oh, thank you. Well, first, Charmyra, thank you for having this space. You're over here thanking me, but you doing it, girl. You are doing it.
You.
And that is what sisterhood is all about. We're supposed to be supporting each other. We're supposed to be uplifting each other. We have to fight too many other battles. We
That's
don't
true.
need to bring that animosity between us. You
That's
know what I'm saying? We need each other, especially now more than ever. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, yeah, to follow me, you can go to astridferguson.com. I have everything on there, but if you want to follow me on social media, I am probably mostly active on my Instagram, which is Astrid, ASTRID underscore Ferg, FERG. Astrid Ferguson is ASTRID FERGUSON, because people be acting like
Mhm.
they don't know how to spell Ferguson. Um, but yeah, so you can find me over there. I do share uplifting stuff, but I'm a little ratchet and a little funny sometimes. I have my little TikTok
Have
videos.
a funny TikTok videos. Get ready to giggle, because I'm telling you, I have the best laughs. Straight from the gut.
People be like, "Are you a comedian?" Oh no, low key, low key.
You know, ever since I saw you doing the videos where it's like someone else talking, but you're doing the mouth, uh,
The TikTok video.
yeah, the lip sync for stuff. Now I see more people doing it, but you were the first one that I saw doing it, and you did it well. And they were funny as all get out, and they're still funny. So I love when you post those, especially to the kid, the baby voices.
Yeah, I do those and I share them, and then I share the ones that I find funny.
Hmm.
And I get all kinds of DMs like, "Oh my God, I needed that laugh this morning," and I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, the last one, with your son was like, "Lord have mercy." I was like, "Oh no!" Now, are you gonna do the busted challenge?
No, I said
Why?
that was not approved. That was not approved. My husband was like, "You busting what?"
Sound like my husband. My husband said the same thing.
And then I was like, "But I can make it funny." And then my son was like, "Okay, I help you." And then I was like, "All right, you're gonna do." I was like, "I'm gonna act like I'm gonna do it, and then you're gonna do the comedian lines of, I'm trying to keep my mom married.
Uh
He
huh.
gives me foods, he gives me eats." You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, "Wait, what are my lines again?" And I was like, "You know what? We're
They get
failing as a production. Like, your lines. Like,
See, now I get to get the behind the scenes version of how these things come together. This is awesome. All right, Astrid. Thank you so much again for coming, and this has been great. I have to have you back because this is awesome. So you just cut out. So thank you.
I know, right? You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.